What you are about to hear was never supposed to leak, but it did. And once you know it, you cannot unknow it. Hello, friends. My name is James, and you are watching Royal Daily Report, your number one source for the most exclusive, most shocking, and most talked about royal stories on the internet. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now because you do not want to miss what we have coming. And if you have been here from the beginning, you already know. We never stop. We never hold back. And tonight is no different. Let us get into it. Behind closed doors at Buckingham Palace, King Charles has been making decisions about his two youngest grandchildren that the world was never supposed to know about. Not announcements, not press releases, not carefully worded statements from royal spokespeople. Decisions, private, deliberate, made by a 77-year-old man who is fighting cancer, who has not held these children since June 2022. Who knows with the particular clarity that a serious illness brings that time does not wait for political negotiations or security committee reviews or family feuds to resolve themselves. Tonight, we are pulling back the curtain on every secret decision King Charles has reportedly made about Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. The accommodation offer that Buckingham Palace confirmed but refused to detail. The security arrangement that Charles allegedly made using his own personal resources after the government said no. The private instructions reportedly given to palace aides about how these children should be treated when they arrive. The photograph that could change everything and the decision being made right now about whether it will ever be taken. And the one decision above all others that sources describe as Charles's most personal, most deliberate, and most final statement about where Archie and Lilibet belong in his family. This is Royal Daily Report, and tonight, we are inside the palace decisions that nobody was supposed to talk about. Let us start with the most significant secret decision King Charles reportedly made, and it happened in the immediate aftermath of the Ravek security crisis. When Ravek, the official government body responsible for royal security, declined Harry's request for police protection during the July visit, something happened inside Buckingham Palace that multiple outlets have now confirmed. Charles did not accept the situation as final. According to GOTV's reporting on June 29th, Charles took what they described as a firm step. He reportedly began arranging alternative security coverage for the Sussex family himself, not through government channels, not through the official machinery of the Crown Estate or the Metropolitan Police. Personally, according to the same reporting, Charles had reportedly already offered to cover Harry's security costs even before the Ravek decision came down, which means the King of England was planning, in advance, for the possibility that the official system would say no to his son. He had a contingency, a personal financial backstop, a secret plan B, kept between himself and his closest aides, designed to ensure that whatever the government decided, his grandchildren could still come safely. GOTV's headline captured it precisely. King Charles takes firm step for Archie and Lilibet after Harry and Meghan blunder. Not the institution, not the palace machinery. Charles, personally, firmly, a grandfather refusing to let bureaucracy separate him from two children he has been desperate to see. If you want to understand every layer of what Charles has been secretly doing for Archie and Lilibet, subscribe to Royal Daily Report right now. Because what comes next is a decision that Charles reportedly made months before any of this became public. Let us go back to the beginning of 2026, because the public version of this story starts with a confirmed July visit. But the private version, according to sourcing that runs across the Sun, IB Times UK, and Royal Insider from January through June 2026, starts much earlier. According to Royal Insider's January 5th reporting, sources close to Harry described the Duke as desperate for a reunion between Charles and his children. That word, desperate, not hopeful, not optimistic, desperate, the same desperation mirrored on the other side. A source told The Sun something that captured Charles's private position with painful clarity. They said, Harry has made it clear that he would love his dad to come and visit him and the family in Montecito. He knows things are strained. And sources say the king understands that too. Two men, both knowing things are strained, both wanting the same thing, both apparently unable to create the conditions for it to happen without external help. And then, according to that same January reporting, something shifted. A source said Harry had made a plea, direct, personal, to his father, the same plea, reportedly, that he made to the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood in September 2025, asking for a personal review of his security situation. Harry was working every angle simultaneously. His father, the Home Secretary, the Palisades, all in service of one goal: getting his children to Britain, getting them in the same room as the grandfather they barely know. Like this video, if you have been following this story and you did not know how many separate moves were happening simultaneously. And subscribe to Royal Daily Report, because what comes next is the accommodation decision that changed everything. Now let us talk about the royal residence. Because this is not just a logistical decision, it is a statement. Buckingham Palace confirmed it, reluctantly, with the minimum possible detail, but confirmed it nonetheless. King Charles had offered the Sussex family accommodation at a royal residence during their July visit. IB Times UK described it as a carefully measured attempt to lower the temperature in a relationship that has remained strained for years. They said the timing, ahead of the Sussexes' expected visit, added weight to what might otherwise have been a routine hospitality arrangement. And they noted something that tells you exactly how sensitive this offer was inside the palace. The exact residence, they said, had not been disclosed, a detail that highlights the continued sensitivity surrounding the visit. In royal terms, such privacy is often deliberate, designed to limit scrutiny and reduce the risk of unnecessary public interpretation of logistical decisions. Think about what that means. The palace confirmed the accommodation offer, but refused to say which residence, refused to give any detail that would allow the press to set up outside a specific building and wait. Because Charles, in making this offer, was not trying to make a public statement. He was not trying to create a photo opportunity. He was not trying to generate headlines about reconciliation. He was trying to give his grandchildren somewhere safe to sleep. The decision was personal. The execution was secret. And the palace's refusal to provide detail was, in its own way, the most eloquent thing they said all week. Do not go anywhere. Subscribe to Royal Daily Report and turn on those notifications. Because what comes next is about the most controversial secret decision of all: the photograph. Now let us talk about the photograph. Because this is the decision that is reportedly creating the most tension inside the palace right now. And it is a decision that nobody has confirmed publicly in either direction, which makes it exactly the kind of secret decision we are here to talk about tonight. GB News, reporting on June 25th, quoted a report from the Times raising a question that the palace has been quietly wrestling with. If King Charles does manage to see Archie and Lilibet during the July visit, will there be a photograph? A professional royal portrait, the kind that the royal family commissions for significant moments. Grandchildren with the king, for years of absence. A reunion that the entire world has been following. If that moment happens, will it be documented? And if it is documented, who will control the image? Will Harry and Meghan allow it? Yahoo Entertainment's reporting on June 25th noted something that makes the photograph question even more complicated. When Meghan posted pictures of Harry with Archie and Lilibet on Archie's 7th birthday in May 2026, and again on Father's Day 2026, the children's faces were hidden. Both of them had their heads turned away from the camera. Only their striking red hair, matching their father's exactly, was visible. Meghan's spokesperson explained the policy directly to Newsweek in June 2026. They said, "The Duchess has always been clear that there is a distinction between sharing moments from her life and exposing her children to public scrutiny. By obscuring their faces, she is demonstrating the very principle she advocates for, giving children privacy, agency, and protection in an increasingly digital world. That is a clear, consistent, principled position, and it creates a direct tension with what the Times suggested the palace might want: a royal portrait, official, lasting, showing the king with his grandchildren, their faces visible, their identities confirmed, for the royal archive." If such a photograph were to be taken and released, Yahoo Entertainment noted something extraordinary. It would mark the first time Archie and Lilibet's faces have been properly revealed since they were babies. In addition, royal reporter Natalie Oliveri suggested that Meghan might actually welcome such a photograph, describing it as a potential chance for good publicity for the family. So the question is not simply whether Charles wants a photograph. It is whether Harry and Meghan will agree to let their children's faces be seen by the world, in an official royal portrait for the first time in years. That decision has not been made publicly, and it may be the most significant secret decision of the entire July visit. Now let us talk about another decision Charles has reportedly made that has gone largely unreported, because there is a specific way that sources have been describing his attitude toward Harry's children that tells you something Charles has decided without ever announcing. Kate Mansi, the royal editor who covers this family closely, has said something that deserves to be examined carefully. She said that whenever King Charles talks about his grandchildren, the public automatically assumes he is talking about William and Catherine's children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. That assumption, she implied, is almost always correct in public. Charles talks about those three children publicly. He mentions them. He is seen with them. He has a visible, documented, publicly expressed relationship with them. Archie and Lilibet are largely absent from that public narrative. But Mansi's observation cuts both ways, because what it actually reveals is not that Charles has excluded Archie and Lilibet from his private feelings. It reveals that Charles has made a decision to keep his relationship with Archie and Lilibet separate from his public narrative, out of the press, away from the cameras, private, protected. In a world where every photograph of these children has the potential to become an international media event, Charles has apparently decided that whatever relationship he has with Harry's two children will exist in a space the press cannot easily access. Not because he does not want that relationship to be real, but because he wants it to actually be real, rather than performing for cameras. That is not nothing. That is the decision of a man who has spent his entire life performing for cameras and who has decided that his relationship with these particular grandchildren will not be part of the performance. Let us talk about the decision Charles reportedly made that has caused the most tension with William, because this is the one that multiple outlets are describing as genuinely damaging to the father-son relationship between Charles and his heir. According to the Royal Observer's Tom Sykes, Charles has reportedly decided to finance Harry's July visit himself, not contribute to it. Finance it. The entire trip. The same son who published a memoir calling Camilla dangerous, whose Netflix documentary questioned the institution Charles leads, whose Oprah interview changed the public conversation about the royal family forever. Charles is reportedly paying for that son to come home. And according to a source speaking to the Royal Observer, his emotional state about this has been described using language that tells you everything about the decision he has made. The source said Charles is simply overjoyed by the turnaround. And then they used a phrase that has been quoted everywhere since. The fatted calf will be slaughtered. That is the story of the prodigal son from the Bible. A son who went away, who wasted what he had been given, who came back expecting little, and whose father ran toward him and celebrated his return extravagantly, to the anger of the brother who had stayed. The person who used that phrase about Charles and Harry was not being poetic. They were describing a decision Charles has apparently made in his heart, at a level that goes deeper than institutional calculation or political strategy. A decision that Harry is his son, that Archie and Lilibet are his grandchildren, that the years of distance and damage and public fighting have not changed those fundamental facts, and that whatever it costs him, whatever damage it does to his relationship with William, whatever the press says, whatever Ravek decides, he is going to find a way to see those children. Now let us talk about a decision that has gone almost entirely unreported. The decision about what happens after July. Because everyone covering this story has been focused on whether the visit happens at all, whether the security is resolved, whether Charles actually gets to hold his grandchildren. But almost nobody has been asking what Charles's long-term plan for this relationship actually is. And according to sourcing from The Sun, cited by Royal Insider in January 2026, Harry has privately made clear what he would love. He would love his dad to come and visit him and the family in Montecito. Not Harry going to Britain. Charles coming to California. A king, traveling to the United States, visiting the home his son built on the other side of the world, meeting his grandchildren on their own ground, in the garden they play in the house where they have grown up. Whether Charles has made that decision is not confirmed. It has not been announced. It has not been denied. But the fact that Harry has apparently communicated this wish, and that sources close to the family are discussing it seriously enough to tell reporters, suggests that someone on Charles's side has heard it. and maybe quietly thinking about whether a king could, somehow, find a way to get to California. Here is what all of these secret decisions tell us about King Charles in 2026. He is a man who has made a series of choices about his two youngest grandchildren that he was not required to make. Nobody forced him to offer a royal residence. Nobody required him to personally arrange security. Nobody demanded that he finance the trip. Nobody told him he had to hold the door open against William's objections. He chose all of it, quietly, privately, without press releases or public statements. Because that is the nature of a decision made from love rather than from strategy. Love does not issue press releases. Love opens a royal residence without disclosing which one. Love arranges security through personal channels when the official channel says no. Love uses the language of the prodigal son because no other language quite captures what it feels like when a father has been waiting and the son is finally coming home. And at the center of all of it, the reason for all of it, unchanged through 4 years of distance and court cases and security reviews and family feuds, 2 children, 7 years old, 5 years old, red-haired, Californian, named after a grandmother and a great-grandmother, entitled by the law of a document signed more than 100 years ago to be styled prince and princess, and entitled by something older and simpler and more powerful than any letters patent to be known by the man who is their grandfather. This is Royal Daily Report, and we will be here to tell you everything that happens next. That is all for tonight, friends. I am James, and this has been Royal Daily Report. If this story hit different for you, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you have not already, and turn on those notifications because we drop new stories every single week. Share this video with one friend who loves royal news. I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and stay royal. Goodbye, friends. Hello, friends. If you are not subscribed to Royal Daily Report yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button right now.